Yes, today let us discuss about the third chapter. The title of the third chapter is Production and Cost. Production and cost. Before knowing the production analysis and the cost analysis in this chapter, we should know the meaning of production and the production function. What is production? In the second chapter, you have learned the consumer's behavior, wherein we study the demand. The demand comes from the consumers. The consumers consume goods and services, and they play an important role in the consumption activity. And there is another phase of economic activity, that is production. So production and consumption are the two important activities, economic activities. They are just like the two faces of the same coin. And there cannot be consumption if there is no production. There cannot be production if there is no consumption. And it is just like egg or hen question. We cannot say which comes first, whether egg comes first or hen comes first. So, consumption and production are very, very important. We have learnt about the consumption and the consumer's behavior. We know simply consumption refers to the use of goods and services in order to satisfy human wants. And the consumer consumes these goods and services because they have utilities. And you know what is utility? Utility is the power of satisfying human wants. One satisfying power is called utility. And we have dealt with the consumer's behavior in chapter number 2. And in chapter number 3, we study the producer's behavior. Now let's understand the concept of production. What's production? It's nothing but the transformation of inputs into output. Say this is the pen and this is the output we are using to write it on the board. And to make this pen, to prepare or to produce this is also called an output or a finished good or the consumer good. So this is the final good. And to produce this final good, or what you say, output, we have to use inputs. I will give you a simple example. Your mother gives you a cup of coffee. That's the output. And to prepare this coffee, your mother has used water, milk, coffee powder, heat, vessel, and then the labor of your mother. All these are used, and these are called the inputs. Inputs are used in the process of production, in the process of producing output. So, in simple term, what's production? One more question. Production is nothing but the transformation of inputs into output. I'll give another example. Cotton, raw cotton is used to produce cloth, cotton cloth. So cotton cloth is the output. Raw cotton is the input. So, inputs, what we say, they are called the resources, or in other words, in our economic term, they are called the factors of production. Factors of production. I was telling you about this, the production of this pen. To start a factory which produces this pen, you have to purchase a piece of land. Then you have to purchase some machineries, employ laborers, and you are the organizer, and you are also called the entrepreneur. So there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, organization. And these factors are called inputs, and these inputs are used in the process of production of output. So in one simple sentence, we can say it's the creation of goods and services, whereas the destruction of goods and services is called consumption. The creation of goods and services is called production. Now, what is production function? Production function. Production function refers to the relationship between the inputs and the output. Please understand. It refers to the relationship. What's the relationship between the inputs and the output? That is being known, made known by the production function. Production function simply refers to the relationship between the inputs and the output. Let's denote it with an equation. Say Q refers to a commodity, that is the output. It is the function of L and K. So here in economics, we use K, which denotes capital. Do not be confused. K for capital, Y for income in economics. Here, to produce commodity Q, you require the help of 2 inputs, labor and capital. L and capital. Please write the equation of the production function. One more question. Q is the function of L and K. K is for capital, L for labor. Okay, now this is production function. Did you understand? So today let us understand the answer for 4 marks question. Explain the Iso-quant curve. Iso-quant curve. With the help of a diagram. It is for 4 marks. Explain the Iso-quant curve with the help of a diagram. It's very simple. See, now let's understand what is Iso-quant curve. Iso means equal. Iso-quant curve refers to the graphical representation of different combinations of 2 inputs, say labor and capital, which yield the maximum level of same level of output. So there are combinations, different combinations of 2 inputs which yield the same level of output. Please do not be confused with the indifference curve. We have studied the indifference curve in chapter number 2, where we define indifference curve as the graphical representation of different combinations of two commodities which yield the same level of satisfaction. Please see, you should not be confused while writing the answer. While defining the indifference curve, you have to use combinations of two commodities which yield the same level of satisfaction. Here we use the combinations of two inputs, labor and capital, which yield the maximum same level of output. Say, this is the curve, Iso-curve, Iso-quant curve. How it is? It is convex to the origin. Indifference curve is also convex to the origin. It is because of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. See, in the beginning it will be MRS will be 4, and then it will be 3, then it will be 2, and then it will be 1. Like this, the marginal rate of substitution goes on diminishing. That's why indifference curve is convex to the origin. So, on the same line, we can see that as you go on substituting one input for another input, the rate of substitution of the factor, not the commodity, goes on diminishing. So, say for example, here this is a labor and this is capital. So OK is a capital and OL is labor. And this is the amount of output produced. Suppose if you reduce the use of capital, then the use of labor increases to L1 and K1, so it falls. And the use of labor increases. So when the use of capital is decreased, the consumption or the use of labor is increased. So there are two combinations, and these two combinations yield the same level of output. You just forget about this, and here it increases. So this much was with this A combination, this much was with the A combination, and this much is with the B combination. You just measure the area, this area and this area, they are equal. So A combination A is equal to B. Combination A is equal to B. That does mean as you go on changing one factor in place of another factor, the output, the quantity of output remains same. And this is called the Iso-quant curve. Please understand, Iso-quant curve refers to the graphical representation of two inputs, different combinations of two inputs which yield the maximum level of, same level of output. Please be careful that there is difference between indifference curve and Iso-quant curve. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, today let us discuss about The third chapter, the title of the third chapter is